Good afternoon, Professor Teodoro. We speak to you, the student Bruce Dynamic. In this opportunity, I talk about the flap motor laboratory. Well, the last two laboratories were based on the analysis of the operation of the flap motor. The main function of this component is to perform the movement of the flaps according to the requirement of the pilot in the cabin. This element located but in the rear part of the wing, the leading edge and the forward leading edge, and serve to vary the surface and shape of the wing in order to increase the lift at low speeds. That is but during takeoff and approach and landing. Because the test will be performed on a smaller aircraft, the Piper Twin Comanche 30, the control of the flap is at a switch control located in the instrument panel that makes them go up or down or continuously until marks of the flap signal or the beast has reached the right position. With the aforementioned, a basic analysis was started to the electrical circuit of the operation of this component. As it was observed, the switch have a three position: down, down, neutral, and up. Okay. When the switch is in the up position, the current coming from the power bars of both of the flap motor is functioned with 20 amp and 12 VDC, and the solenoid flap, what function is with the 5 amp and 12 VDC. Automatically energize the system. Two short circuit breakers protector have additionally have another circuit breaker belonging to the flap indicator and the flap sender. We observe this flap, this circuit breaker, yes, two circuit breakers. Uh, okay, which indicated that which the energized system, the current reaches the red cable of the motor flap and through the brake coil. It makes the turning movement in the clockwise direction, up position, connecting in turn to ground. Okay. At the same time, the current passes through the flap selector switch, going to the solenoid flap connecting. We observe this is the flap up select limit switch is connected to the flap solenoid. Flap is connecting to the ground and closing the circuit. When the flap reaches of the limit of movement in its operation, the flap limit switch will change internally the position from in C to in O. Okay, preventing the current from reaching the solenoid flap be removing to ground connection, preventing it from continuing the operation, making the flap continue to operate. The same operating principle is applied in the position in down position. It is important to mention that for this movement there is a flap down limit switch in addition to having the yellow cable which will change the rotation of the motor in the center of counterclockwise, causing the operator in the respective position. Once the operation was analyzed, we worked a plan and carried out. We observed this. Okay, we have our plan. We're planning flap motor solenoid. We follow this plan of the around all laboratory. Okay, we follow this plan. Checks were made around the flaps, checking that the air is not object that prevents them from performing their normal operation. In addition, the connection points of the power source and the aircraft energization points were verified. A multimeter was suited for this. Finally, the verification was made to the CV belonging to the system in the flap and solenoid flap motor and flap solenoid. Okay, were in the closed position. With regard to the first test of the system, this could not be performed because a problem was found in the electrical system of the aircraft. Okay, since it did not fire through the key on the closed door the connection circuit, therefore it was made a quick analysis of the electrical diagram of the aircraft, verifying all the most important connection points. Thus finding deficiencies. First, a broken cable belonging to the master switch was identified, which was the main to energize to energize the aircraft. After of solving this convenience, a second test was performed, which ended up being a failure because the aircraft was not yet energized. So it was determined that air was still an element in poor condition within the electrical system. Well, the fault was identified in the master solenoid of the airplane. In this component, that a bad connection was found. After solving this problem, we proceeded with the third and final test of the components. This last test was performed optimally because the electrical system of the aircraft worked correctly. With respect to the motor flap, this component working properly, and checking what is analyzed in the electrical circuit. In addition, the movement indicator of the flap was displayed in the instrument panel, which was kept on while the flaps were in full operation. The test was carried out in the up and down positions, and the flap movement, the limit bar was also displayed, thus checking the operation of the flap limit switches, which cut the ground connection of the circuit once the surface reached the limit of operation. Okay, so what's the protected these components from any damage? It is also important to mention that for the movement of the motor flap to be transmitting to surface, in attention and pulleys and cables are used for this. In addition to a movement rod, thus concluding that the equipment was in optimal operating conditions. Okay. The importance of the check of the operation of this equipment signs if the aircraft could not take off and land properly, if the surfaces are inoperative, generating an unsafe condition, put into operation and safety of the aircraft at risk. Finally, we have a video about the operation of the switch and the flap. We observed the switch and the flap indicator. This is the flap indicator of limit switches. Okay, this is in the down position. Okay. Well, in this video, we can observe the operation of the flap and solenoid motor in the aircraft. We energize this is the tube movement, and this is the operation of the flap motor. We use the poles and cables for the transmitted movement to the motor of the surfaces. Is testing the down and up position. Okay. Finally, after check this video, finally conclusion with the respect to interpretation of the results. During and after the test, I can be determined that the recognition of the component is important because this facilitates the identification, isolation, and next repair of the failure or the faults that might be found. As was this case with the electrical system of the plane, whose problem of the lack of energization was solved due to analysis and the rapid recognition of components that this allowed this execute the operation test of the engine flap or flap motor, okay, which makes possible the movement of the flap by means of the selector flap switch located in the instrument panel. Checking that the system was in optimal operating condition, so it is concluded that checking of the operation of the component is as essential because the main function of the flap is to avoid a stall during the specific phases of the flight, such as the landing or takeoff, recreating of the remaining inactive during normal cruise flight. Thus allowing the aircraft to fly at lower speeds in the phases of takeoff, initial ascents, approach and landing, increasing its lift coefficient. So that is if the tests are not carried out and this component is damaged, it will jeopardize the flight of the aircraft and the life its transport. Okay, it's all for this opportunity. Thanks for listening.